Morning has come, arise and greet the day. Dance with joy and sing a song of gladness. The light of hope it shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. A new day dawns, once more the gift is given. Wonder fills this moment shared together. The light of peace it shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. Open our eyes to see that life abounds. Open hearts to welcome it among us. The light of love it shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home.
Good morning and welcome to Live Oak Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm Reverend Joanna. I'm so glad that you could join us today, whether today is your very first day here or whether you have been coming for 25 years. We're so glad that we could all be in community together. If this is your first time though, after the service, I'd love to invite you to visit our website at liveoakuu.org. First of all, you're going to find a link where you can subscribe to our weekly newsletter, and that's where we have in all the information about all the things that are happening all week long. Even though we are meeting for the most part virtually, we are still staying busy and having all kinds of gatherings, and you might want to join us for some of those. Also on our website, on that home page, you'll see a link if you want to know more information about Live Oak UU. You can click on that. And then there is also going to be a special Zoom room set up immediately after the service. You'll see the link. It's called Just for Visitors. There's going to be a couple of people in there from the church. Consider it to be kind of like two people standing at a welcome table. You can go into the room and give them any questions that you might have. Say hello and actually meet a couple of people. It's very laid back. Here at Live Oak, we are very committed to our first principle, which is to promote the inherent worth and dignity of all people. And so whomever you love, whatever you do, whoever you are, we want you to know that you are so welcome here. It is tradition in Unitarian Universalist churches to light a chalice at the beginning of our gatherings. And so now if you have a candle or a chalice near, if you would draw it toward you as we light our chalices together.
place. And we tell a story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words. Then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our heart stares within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
Good morning. My name is Carrie Krause. I'm the Director of Lifespan Faith Development at Live Oak UU Church. Thank you for joining us this morning. Today's big idea is the true story of the three little pigs, as told to John Sheska, illustrated by Lane Smith. Everybody knows the story of the three little pigs, or at least they think they do. But I'll let you in on a little secret. Nobody knows the real story because nobody's heard my side of the story. I'm the wolf, Alexander T. Wolf. You can call me Al. I don't know how this whole big bad wolf thing started, but it's all wrong. Maybe it's because of our diet. I mean, hey, it's not my fault wolves eat cute little animals like bunnies and sheep and pigs. That's just the way we are. If cheeseburgers were cute, I bet folks would think you were big and bad too. But like I was saying, the whole big bad wolf thing is wrong. The real story is about a sneeze and a cup of sugar. Way back in once upon a time, I was making a birthday cake for my dear old granny. I had a terrible sneezing cold. I ran out of sugar. So I walked down the street to borrow a cup of sugar from my neighbor. Now this neighbor was a pig, and he wasn't too bright either. I mean, he had built his entire house out of straw. Can you imagine that, building a house out of straw? So of course, the minute I knocked on the door, it fell in. And I didn't want to just walk in someone else's house. So I cried, little pig, are you in? No answer. I was just about to go home without a cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake, and that's when my nose started to itch. I felt a sneeze coming on. Well, I huffed, and I snuffed, and I sneezed a great sneeze. And you know what? The whole darn straw house fell down. And right in the middle of that pile of straw was the little pig, dead as a doornail. He had been home the whole time. It seemed like a shame to leave a perfectly good ham dinner lying in the middle of the straw, so I ate it up. Think of it as a big cheeseburger lying there. I was feeling a little better, but I still didn't have my cup of sugar. So I went to the next neighbor's house. This neighbor was the first little pig's brother. He was a little smarter, but not much. He had built his house out of sticks. I rang the doorbell on the stick house. Nobody answered. I called, Mr. Pig, are you in? He yelled back, "Go away, wolf, you can't come in. I'm shaving the hairs of my chinny chin chin." I had just grabbed the doorknob when I felt another sneeze coming on. I huffed and I snuffed and I tried to cover my mouth, but I sneezed a great sneeze. And you're not going to believe it, but this guy's house fell down just like his brother's. When the dust cleared, there was the second little pig, dead as a doornail, wolf's honor. Now, you know food will spoil if you leave it out in the open, so I did the only thing there was to do. I had dinner again. Think of it as a second helping. I was getting awfully full. But my cold was feeling a little better, and I still didn't have that cup of sugar for my dear old granny's birthday cake. So I went to the next house. This guy was the first and second little pig's big brother. He must have been the brains of the family because he had built his house of bricks. I knocked on the brick house. No answer. I called, Mr. Pig, are you in?" And you know what that rude little porker said? "Get out of here, wolf, don't bother me again." Talk about impolite. He probably had a whole sack full of sugar, and he wouldn't give me one little cup for my granny's birthday cake. What a pig. I was just about to go home and maybe make a nice birthday card instead of a birthday cake when I felt my cold coming on. I huffed and I snuffed and I sneezed once again. Then the little pig yelled, "And your granny can sit on a pin." Now, I'm usually a pretty calm fellow, but when somebody talks about my granny that way, I go a little crazy. When the cops drove up, of course, I was trying to break down the pig's door. And the whole time I was huffing and puffing and sneezing and making a real scene. And the rest, as they say, is history. The news reporters found out about the two pigs I had for dinner. They figured a sick guy going to borrow a cup of sugar didn't sound too exciting, so they jazzed it up with that huff and puff and blow your house down, and they made me the big bad wolf. That's it. The real story. Maybe you could loan me a cup of sugar.
Listen as your day unfolds, challenge what the future holds. Try to keep your head up to the sky. Lovers, they may cause you tears. Go ahead, release your fears. Stand up and be counted, don't be ashamed to cry. You gotta be bad, you gotta be bold, you gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard, you gotta be tough, you gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool, you gotta be calm, you gotta stay together. All I know, love will save the day. Hear what your mother said, read the books your father read. Try to solve the puzzles in your own sweet time. Some may have more cash than you, others take a different view. My, oh my, hey, hey. You gotta be bad, you gotta be bold, you gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard, you gotta be tough, you gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool, you gotta be calm, you gotta stay together. All I know, love will save the day. Time has no way questions. It goes on without you, leaving you behind if you can stand the pace. The world keeps on spinning, you can stop it if you try to. This time it's danger staring you in the face. Oh. Remember, listen as your day unfolds. Challenge what the future holds. Try and keep your head up to the sky. Lovers, they may cause you tears. Go ahead, release your fears. My, oh my, hey, hey. You gotta be bad, you gotta be bold, you gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard, you gotta be tough, you gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool, you gotta be calm, you gotta stay together. All I know, love will save the day. You gotta be bad, you gotta be bold, you gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard, you gotta be tough, you gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool, you gotta be calm, you gotta stay together. All I know, love will save the day. Gotta be bold, gotta be bad, gotta be wise. Don't ever say, gotta be hard, not too hard. All I know is love will save the day. You gotta be bad, you gotta be bold, you gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard, you gotta be tough, you gotta be stronger. You gotta be cool, you gotta be calm, you gotta stay together. Yeah. You gotta be bad, you gotta be bold, you gotta be wiser. You gotta be hard, you gotta be tough, you gotta be stronger.
Turning to One Another by Margaret J. Wheatley. There is no greater power than a community discovering what it cares about.
Ask what is possible, not what's wrong. Keep asking. Notice what you care about. Assume that many others share your dreams.
Be brave enough to start a conversation that matters. Talk to people you know. Talk to people you don't know. Talk to people you never talk to.
Be intrigued by the differences you hear. Expect to be surprised. Treasure curiosity more than certainty.
Invite in everybody who cares to work on what's possible. Acknowledge that everyone is an expert about something. Know that creative solutions come from new connections.
Remember, you don't fear people whose story you know. Real listening always brings people closer together.
Trust that meaningful conversations can change your world.
Rely on human goodness. Stay together.
The highest compliment that my dad could give someone was when he would say that you could send them for the ammunition. It was a war metaphor, and what he meant by that was he'd explain it as you are down in the trenches with someone, and the enemy you can see is progressing towards you, and you're low on ammo. If the person with you says that they're going to go back and get more ammunition, will they return? It was about finding someone so trustworthy that you literally could even trust them with your life. This month, we have talked about trust and who we trust, what we trust. But now the other side of it is, what does it mean for we ourselves to be trustworthy? Trust can mean different things. For instance, I could say that there are people in the current administration whom I trust to always do what is right for their party over the country or over individual lives. That's not really trust, though, so much as predictability. And predictability can be an element of being trustworthy, but there's a lot more that goes along with it. To be truly trustworthy requires honesty, compassion, reliability, and evidence of a strong moral compass. I think that truth and compassion are two things that have to go hand in hand or have to be held in one of those dynamic tensions like we often talk about. Because I'm sure that all of us know people who are good at one but not the other, and thus are not particularly trustworthy. Like, don't we all know that one person who is really, really good at honesty, but it's never tempered with compassion, and so you are always given exactly what they honestly believe, whether you asked for it or not? And the problem with that is that real trust happens within a relationship. In a relationship, you have to be able to have times when you can be vulnerable. And if you are with someone who is all honesty and no compassion, then that's going to hold you back from being able to be vulnerable with them. And I imagine we also all know someone who is all compassion and honesty, what's that, right? Where you can never get a straight answer out of them, even when you really want it. Even for something like, hey, I'm trying to perfect my soup. Can you taste this and tell me what you think? No matter what they think, they are always going to tell you that it's absolutely wonderful and aren't you such a great person for making it. And those can be wonderful people to have in our lives. The problem is when you can't get them to be willing to trust you enough to tell you the truth, then again, that's taking away from the relationship, and you're not going to have the sort of trustworthiness that you need. But someone who is able to hold both of those and be able to prioritize one or the other depending on the circumstances, to always be weighing the need for both honesty and compassion, that's going to be someone who is deeply trustworthy. Because for one thing, if they tell you an unpleasant truth, you're going to know that they had to kind of struggle with that in order to share that with you. And when they tell you something really complimentary, if you have been able to see that they also have an ethical urge toward honesty, then you're going to feel a little bit more comfortable relaxing and taking the compliment. Along with honesty and compassion, a truly trustworthy person has a history of reliability. It's often phrased as, I know that this person will do what they say they are going to do. And if not, they will come back and tell me that they will not be able to do it. Reliability is hard, right? We're optimistic. We often think that we can do more things than we can. I know that I am absolutely guilty of it. And so it takes a lot of work. For me, I feel sometimes like it is a daily job of really trying to be clear about what can I reasonably do and to not commit myself to something unless I am fairly certain that I will be able to fulfill it. Reliability, though, is not just about what we do. It's also about what we say and what we share. People need to know that we are giving a level of care to whatever it is that we are doing. To be really trustworthy, means that we have a pattern of reliability in doing the work ourselves before we share something. Before we share something on social media or cut out an article and mail it, which some people still do, we ourselves have read through it. With some healthy skepticism, we've looked to see, does this come from a reputable source? Because the thing is, when you tweet out an article, say from a satire site, you can get away with that maybe once or twice, but at a certain point, people are going to realize that you're not really a reliable source for passing on information. Not that we can't make mistakes. Not that we can't have those times when we've promised to do something and then we discover that we really are not going to be able to. What's important is what happens next when we are able to own that. When, rather than doubling down on bad information, we say, oh, wow, I was wrong about that and here is a correction. Or, boy, I know that I said I was going to do this thing by this date. I am so sorry. I'm not going to be able to do that. However, I can do it at a later date, or perhaps there's some other way that I can help you. When that happens, as long as it doesn't happen all the time, but when that happens, when we are able to have the humility of admitting that we goofed, our trustworthiness has the opportunity to grow for other people. Psychology Today did some research into this, and this was very interesting. One of the things that they determined really shapes how trustworthy a person is seen is whether they are guilt prone. That's the term that they used. The more guilt prone you are, the more people perceive you to be trustworthy. If you're starting to react, hold on, take a breath. I didn't say shame prone. Those are two different things. Guilt prone is when you are willing to take responsibility for what you yourself have done, and you're able to look at things and go, oh, wait, did I mess that up? Was that me? And people who are willing to do that, and then if in fact it turns out that they did make a mistake, are willing to own up to it, people perceive them as being more trustworthy, both because they know that they will correct themselves, but there's also this kind of subconscious thing that we think, which is, if this person is guilt prone, then they probably are going to do everything that they can to not make a mistake, because they know that if they do, they're going to have to own up to it. It's kind of an interesting thing, right? I had to sit with that one for a while, but the more I thought about it, especially when I started thinking about certain people in the public sphere who never admit to making mistakes and are obviously not at all guilt prone, I realized that correlated with those were the same people that I found to be least trustworthy. So I think there's something in this. And probably what is underneath all of that is this other element of trustworthiness, which is a pattern of evidence of a strong moral compass. There is not one strong moral compass. A moral compass is about having your particular guiding principles that you have identified as being important to you. They're ones that you can articulate. You know that this is something important, and something that is so important, you want to live out of that guiding principle even when you don't actually want to. You don't want to have to do the uncomfortable thing, but that guiding principle, it's a compass. You actually use it to guide what you do. When we see people who seem to, over and over again, act out of a strong moral compass. Even if we don't agree with them, we find them more trustworthy. I know of people in my life who have very different religious and political views than I do. But I also know they have that core moral center, and they operate out of that. They don't operate out of, anything goes as long as you're getting closer to the end goal. They actually have a moral framework that is supporting what they do. And so when I see someone who is, let's say, against abortion, but they also are over in Huntsville protesting against capital punishment. They are going to the border to try and get babies out of cages. I find them trustworthy. Our world right now really needs people who have honesty and compassion and reliability, and there is evidence that they are working out of a strong moral compass. And I think there's going to be even more need for them in the future. That can be us. But we can't wait until things are better in some way. We can't wait till coronavirus is over. We can't wait until there is a different political situation. We have to begin doing the work of being trustworthy. Well, yesterday would have been better, but today is a really good second place. It's an investment. And you can never tell when it is going to pay off. I have a friend who just went to see his mother, and he told me that when he got there, she said she wanted to talk with him about the election. He immediately said, "No thanks. Mom, you know that I think very differently than you do." And she said, "Yes, I know that you do, and that's why I want to talk with you." And so they talked for about an hour, and it was mostly him talking and her asking questions, because she had some questions that have now risen up. And so she wanted to know why it is that he thinks the way he does. I told him, "Wow, this is really terrific." And he said, "Yes, and that it had taken years of work on his part to get there, not work of trying to convince her of anything." The thing is, whenever we do that, it's apparent. Like, there's been studies and studies and books written about this, about, it just makes people tighten down that much harder into their beliefs. But instead, for years, he had been working at being more self-differentiated, at being able to say what was so for him without trying to change her, without trying to persuade her. He could honor her right to believe the way that she did, which does not mean that he honored what she believed, but he did honor the fact that as an individual, she's the only person who gets to make those decisions. And he stayed connected with her through all of it. He kept loving her through all of it. And trust isn't just about us being honest and saying what we feel. It is about the relationship. It is about working so that someone knows that even if they say something we really disagree with, that we're going to stay connected with them. That doesn't work all the time. Absolutely. There are some times when we have to put up boundaries, but for those whom we love, for those who we want to be in relationship with, the more that we can work to become trustworthy, the greater the chance is that at some day they'll come to us and say, "I'd like to have a tough conversation with you." I think that right now, trustworthiness seems like something old-fashioned. But you know what? The last few years, there have been a lot of old-fashioned bad things that have come out in our culture. Maybe it's time for some good old-fashioned things to come out too. And at the end of the day, becoming more trustworthy, we don't do it so that we can persuade people to think differently or do differently. We do it because it's part of us. And this is going to help us become the people we are called to be.
And what about you? Do you always keep your trusts? Remember, when you show you're trustworthy in little things, you'll be trusted with big things. And that's the way to gain a reputation for being trustworthy.
From the light of days remembered burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger burns within. Then our promise finds fulfillment, and our future can begin. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment, and our future can begin.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And a special thank you to everyone who helped put this service together, our readers, our musicians, our producers. We are so grateful to have you. Now I'd like to invite you to come to our fellowship time. If you go to liveoakuu.org, you will see a link right there for fellowship time. It's going to take you to a Zoom room where we can all see each other's faces. We'll chat a little bit and then we'll go into breakout rooms. They're randomly assigned. We often will discuss kind of a question of the day or do a deeper check-in, and it's a great way to get to know others. May you go forward with courage, cheerfulness, and resolution.
Soon the day will arise when we will be together, and no longer will we live in fear. And the children will smile without wondering whether on that day thunder clouds will appear. Wait and see what a world there can be if we share, if we care, you and me. Wait and see